welcome to another episode of Renter Obsessed. We are a group of multifamily marketers who get together and talk shop and hang out and bounce ideas and learn from each other. And it's open to anyone in the industry that wants to join. So if you're interested in joining, reach out. We'll give you some more information at the end of the episode, or you can go to knoxcrm.com/podcast. So last episode, we had a conversation about influencer marketing and user-generated content, and it kind of flowed into social media naturally, as you do, because it's all under one umbrella. And so I have a really exciting guest for us to all ask a million questions of. Sarah, she is the branding and marketing director for PRG Real Estate, and she has some incredible examples of not user-generated content or renter-generated content, but employee-generated content, and the way she used that to basically pick up the pieces when COVID shut everything down and really supercharge her whole marketing strategy and empower her team. So welcome to the party, Sarah.
Thank you guys for having me. Sorry if I'm a little sluggish. I got 2 shots today, so I'm feeling a little weird, but we'll get through it.
You got 2 shots. You didn't have 2 shots, right?
I got 2 shots.
You can have 2 shots.
I wish I had 2 shots instead. Now I'm on the Pedialyte shot to keep myself energized, but no, it's good. And I'm happy to be here. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that we had, talked about, and one of the questions that came up in our last call was, what do you do? Are people doing a general corporate branded account, or are they having individual social media accounts for the different properties? And I know that you are really more focused on, empowering your teams to do that. So if you could just briefly describe your social media strategy as it stands today and how it shifted since, everything in the world shifted.
Yeah. So at PRG, we have a Instagram and Facebook page for every single property. And we allow our teams on site to manage and operate those platforms in-house. Of course, we all know that there's so many brands and opportunities out there that'll come in and create the content for you or manage the strategy or do the posts for you. And my master's degree has a concentration in consumer engagement through social channels. And I just felt when I onboarded with PRG that there's so many creative minds out there. And for us, our population of employment is definitely a younger demographic in the leasing offices, and they definitely have the creative mindset. And let's face it, they're on their phones all day, every day, whether you tell them they can be or not. So why not give them the opportunity to use their devices and make work a little bit more fun and interactive for them? So we allow them to manage the property accounts. We allow them to create the content, but we do put in parameters of control. And we have also built a program called Devens Design School. Devens, my marketing coordinator, so hence the name Devens Design School. And every other month, she talks about topics and trends and trains how to use the tools that we have available to us at PRG, which is really amazing. And of all of our training opportunities at PRG, she gets over 100 people every time. So I think it speaks volumes as to her personality, but also that people want to learn how to do this. And whether it's for their work accounts or their personal accounts, because I have seen improvements on all of them, they get the opportunity to take ownership of it. And I think that's where we find that piece of empowerment through the brands. So
you and through Devens Design School are building an army of all the people that are going to take over for us, the next generation of multifamily marketers. That's so cool.
I love it. I love Devens Design Schools. I think they're amazing. And sometimes we do them then individually for new managers or new hires so that they can catch up. We record all of them. But next year, we're actually going to take Devens Design School on the road, and she's going to start traveling to the regions, and we'll cater the design school to the specific region, but then we'll live stream it to the rest of the portfolio. So
I'm going to ask you a question that I did not send you in advance, but I'm so curious, and I'm sure you don't have the stats off the top of your head, but have you seen having a branded training opportunity that's unlike any other that I've personally experienced in this industry. How do you feel that that's affected your overall like culture of your company and employee retention?
I mean, I don't have statistics offhand, but I can say, especially through COVID, PRG did a really good job of not laying anybody off. And I think one of the places where I really tried to work on myself was my skill of listening and allowing the field to come in to my teams or write me an email or encourage them to pick up the phone and call me and be like, what are you guys seeing at the level of the field? PRG is in an interesting position. Like, I have no properties in the market that I live to work with. So I'm remote. Our corporate office is in Philadelphia and we own no businesses north of Virginia. So it makes it a very interesting dynamic because I'm not with them all the time. So it's like that policy when you're in high school, like teachers have open office hours or like their doors always open. That's how Devin and I try to keep the department. And like our teams during COVID just came up with the most incredibly creative ideas. And I was like, where have you been? Like, why were you so quiet before? But I think it was through our personalities and Devens design school, and that we facilitated that like initial touch point with them, that they felt comfortable enough to come to us. Because let's face it, it probably is daunting to be in a leasing office and to contact someone in a corporate office. You think you're bothering them and they're not. We're a family of employees. So
Yeah. And you being a person in a corporate office visiting your on-site teams and they're just like, they don't, it's so important, and it takes so much effort to build that bond and that trust, and also truly treating on-site teams what they are, the absolute face and brand of your company and the most important element you have.
and you
That's really
just said it,
cool.
you just hit the nail on the head right there. Is the reason why we didn't outsource social is because the face of the brands are in the office and they're not another company behind a desk. And I think those other companies like Sochi and some of the other platforms that offer those services, I think they're great. Like it's nothing against them personally, but for PRG, it's not what we were looking for.
Yeah. I mean, amazing tools to project manage and schedule and have insights onto performance. But you couldn't ask any third party company in any industry to be to have the authenticity as the actual face of your company creating content. And content consumption is changing so much. I mean, I definitely scroll on TikTok a lot, but as we start to transition the way we consume into this like short form video content, the style that's not overly produced, just a person talking to you in like what it feels like a real bond, that stuff is even more and more powerful. And
Exactly.
like as a resident, as a renter, having consistency and reliability with a person that is so important to you, that helped you pick your home, that goes into your home, I think that's really important too for resident retention.
Yeah, I think exactly like you said, the softwares are available to us to help us manage things, but the voice and the eyes and the ears of the property are the people that are actually there. And if you take that away, I personally believe you lose some of that intrinsic value that is the foundation of your brand. I look at PRG as our employer brand. So I manage all of the social accounts within the corporate setting, and we really try to outward face them to the employees and potential investors that come into our portfolio and want to work with us, that they see that we celebrate people and every single person from the top all the way to the bottom is represented in some fashion, and celebrate those achievements or little things like speaking at AIM or an opportunity that someone gets to go to a training. We make sure that we promote all of that. But from the property standpoint, those social media accounts to me are more like guides, and they create the humanistic quality that especially Gen Z wants to interact with. More and more people go to social media to review a property than like the website at this point. It's almost like reading reviews. It's like, when's their last post? Oh, they haven't had a resident event in like 9 months. What's the problem here? It doesn't look fun compared to the one down the street. But those companies that would make the generated content for us also wouldn't get the pictures of those events, and they wouldn't be authentic. They'd be like Getty images or not resident images, which for PRG, and maybe you all can agree too, like a big avenue for us is pets, especially through COVID. I remember speaking with Jamin at AIM, and what they did with their pet policy is like incredible, and that they retrofitted dog parks into all of their amenity spaces. And he had a stat that was like 80% of renters with dogs will renew if they feel that their pet is taken care of. So like those little tiny things that we never thought of before are now here. They're accelerated right onto our plates. So
I used to have a resident that lived at one of our communities that was super dog friendly with a dog park. And she threw a birthday party for her dog in our dog park and posted it all over her social accounts, and her friends shared it. And it was amazing.
and I'm sure the businesses that she bought stuff for thrived as well. So there's like another niche to the community.
Absolutely. I have a quick poll question that Jania is going to share with the crowd. Out of curiosity, who in this group is using this centralized corporate only strategy, the property specific account strategy, or a combined strategy, just to kind of get a feel for it? So when I was on your side of things, I did not have the tools or the foresight or the interest, and to have all of our on-site teams contributing in that way. And I look back, I'm like, oh, it would have been so much more powerful. They were still contributing, they were taking pictures, they were filming videos, but it was all getting funneled through our one account. Made sense for us because we only had properties in one region. And so it was easier for people to bounce around, but it was challenging to grow your follower count on, 20 different channels or 20 different accounts versus just one. But I'm curious. So you talked a lot about empowering your teams to create this content, trusting them to do it. What type of guidelines did you put in place on the onset that helped you, make sure that there was brand consistency for PRG?
So we used to use a platform. I'm not going to name names because a lot of people still use them. And I think for what they do, they offer a fine service, but it wasn't working for us. And I went and shopped the market and knew from past experiences about this, at the time, a very small company called Canva, which is an Australian-based company that's founded by this wonderful woman entrepreneur. So that's even more empowering for me. But I reached out to them before they had their enterprise suite and sort of was very persistent that someone call me. And I was like, I don't even know if this exists yet. I don't know what you guys are doing. And it just so happened to be at the time that they were launching the pilots for their enterprise suite. So we onboarded our entire portfolio very early. It was really neat. I got invited up to their enterprise launch in New York, which is an experience in and of itself. And I wish they had them every year because everyone should go drink the Canva Kool-Aid, as I say at the office.
Oh, I've been a Canva queen for years. I built my entire career on that freaking platform.
Yeah. So
I'm bought in.
And their party that they had was amazing. It was so cool. And to meet their executives and feel their vision and all of that. But so we adapted with them. So for us, the control comes through the Canva pipeline. So all of our properties have their own login, but they're all in the brand kit of Canva that you can harness. We lock certain portions and then we train them on how to create content from scratch and include fair housing credentials, how to pick collateral. And it's sort of been, we're now in year 3, I believe, with them. So, or 2.5, we're 28 months, 29 months, I believe. And it started where people at first were very nervous. And now our Canva feed, I don't know if I can share my screen with you guys. I did open it, but I can show you the amount of designs.
For anyone that's listening after the fact, we will have some examples in our show notes page on knoxcrm.com/podcast. And we'll probably share them on our social channels for funsies.
I will put a nice package together for you guys. I don't even know how to share my, there we go. Or my computer is going to break when I do this. It happens sometimes.
Does anyone while I'm like monopolizing this conversation, does anyone else have any? Oh my gosh, please ask your questions of Sarah too. Unmute yourself and be part of it. That is so
So
awesome.
this is our designs. And as you can see, these are the things that are coming in all the time. It's endless. And I know a lot of these, like Devin, my marketing coordinator, just got married, so she designed some stuff in here for her wedding. But this is the all, I don't know where you guys just went. There you are. This is the all design tab. So this is stuff that's just been stored. And then if I click to recent designs, or maybe not. See, this is the problem with my computer. It's not working, but I will get you guys something. In the recent designs, it actually funnels all the social media collateral that we have. Here, let me stop sharing and I'll open that and reshare it.
This is not a sponsored by Canva podcast, everyone,
No,
but we
it's
are
not.
fans.
This is
We
me
are such fans.
fully transparent too of what we use. And I encourage everyone to find the tools that work for your company, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And I'm fully confident that you guys find stuff that works for your company's synergy. But like all these recent designs have probably come in within like the last 24 hours. So
Wow.
Here's something that we like, this congratulations to Rita, we put on our corporate site. Troy here won an award, so we celebrate him. But like, as you can see, the little cookies and hot cocoa, National Gift Wrapping Day, they're all different and they all have their own personalities. Here's a bunch of Thanksgiving stuff. I think people still have like a food coma because things have been a little slower this week, or they're on vacation. But I even designed like our corporate newsletters in Canva, and it's all housed in this lovely ecosystem. And then hopefully it works. In here are all the brand kits that Devin and I control. So like the colors, the logos, the fonts all live in these nice little containers. And then when the teams go into their portfolio on Canva, they have access to this data. So for us, this is how we streamline our pipeline and we maintain that control. So Devin and our marketing intern approve every single design that comes in. And for some of our teams in the beginning, like I said, they were nervous and it took some time for them to get this momentum going. And then COVID happened, and we took the idea during COVID that Devin and I would start a program called PRG Care, and CARE is the acronym for Creative Activities, Residence, and Joy. So for 365 days, we created content and distributed it into the property's folders and allowed them to manipulate it to learn how to brand. So now they're confident enough. And I think that like they saw us doing it and they were like, oh, it's so easy. They can do it every day. We can do it every day. It was really cool. So now we have this backlog of so many different things that they can use as filler, but they were like inspired that our corporate team's actually doing it too. So we'll join on with them. And now like they get nervous, like, are we getting rid of Canva? Are you changing anything? And we're like, no, like it's fine. You're good.
I think there's a lot of things that happened because of COVID that we're like, oh, maybe we should have always done this. We're just going to keep on trucking in this way. It totally works.
And then just to piggyback, like with the control, obviously, and a strategy, you want growth. I used to be a director of marketing for an international surfboard company. So obviously for me, that lifestyle brand, the growth was exponential. And like, I always am like, it's not going to happen in real estate that way. Of course, I want our accounts to grow and I want to put in feasible percentages for them to, and goals for them to reach. But I understand that we may not get 10,000 followers. We may not get 1,000 followers. What matters is the engagement that you have with the followers that are there. So we have a property that has 57 units. Like if they have 57 followers and they get a comment and 57 likes, to me, that's winning for that property. Cause like, otherwise you're creating irrelevance. in some regard. And then for those properties like that 57 one, the other area of growth that I encourage is like those neighborhood partnerships, or putting yourself out there and offering more of like a community guide or a neighborhood guide. Tell people what's around and start to pick up off of those algorithms. And you might start to see that people connect with you, and maybe down the road they live with you, or maybe they just come in and say hello, or maybe they own a business and come hang out and bring like dog treats or wine or, you know, something like that. So while the tangible numbers aren't necessarily what we measure, our goals are to maintain activity on the accounts, to create relevance and engage more so with our residents, and whatever we get as a residual side effect of that is like I said, it's winning. So
Awesome. I have a question for the whole group, anyone that wants to hop in and answer. For anyone that's running their social accounts or has whoever's using social media in general in your marketing strategy, which I'm sure most of us are, what are some of your goals with your accounts? Who's the brave one?
So we're always striving, obviously, for more followers, but it's the interaction that really we're trying to push on our teams, because our teams do have a lot of that creative control like yours do. So it's been a lot more encouraging them to use polls or this or that to kind of create the opportunities to get the likes or the hearts or the thumbs up, depending on, you know, what each one stands for. And then not only that, but to create more engagement with like our stories and, you know, going live and things like that. Those are some of the things that we're trying to move now to, you know, we kind of feel like we've mastered a little bit of the posting in general, but there's so many new features and options that can just kind of take it to the next level. That's where we're trying to grow now.
I haven't seen people go as live as much lately, but it's still the only action that you can take on Instagram that notifies all of your followers without tagging them. And also in the beginning of COVID, I started trying to figure out how to do virtual resident events. And I actually hosted most of them on Instagram, and I would do double, like you go live with someone else. I went live with an interior designer, or she wasn't an interior designer. She was a home organizer. And so I interviewed a home organizer. I interviewed a woman that like does juicing and just like different like things that I thought people might be interested in. And most of them were residents who we interviewed and did events with on there, and people could comment and you could bring more people in. And then, you know, your account is touching all of their followers too, because if they're going live with you, everyone's getting a notification. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that beyond just regular posting. It's a lot, it's time consuming, but it can be worth it for sure.
And like the other piece of that is that we've got a lot of residents that aren't comfortable coming to the clubhouse for some of the events that we are throwing. So like if we do have live music, we're streaming it live via Facebook or Instagram so that they can still participate. And if we do like a hot cocoa bar at the event, we'll deliver that to the door so they can have their hot cocoa and still participate or watch the live music too. So we're kind of trying to create that interaction engagement too.
What's so great about that stuff, it can live on the internet forever. As you know, have a prospect that comes in and you say, you know, if you're interested in like getting an idea of the lifestyle is here, here's a video of our last event you can check out and see people enjoying. It's really cool. And you can invite, if you have virtual events too, or you go live on Instagram, you can invite your prospects to be a part of all those things. Even in-person events, you can invite your prospects, let them actually meet their neighbors and get a sense of the community.
There's so many options. The possibilities are endless at this point. So
yeah, I am curious about, we have another poll actually. So this one, and the results from the last poll, Shania, do you want to kind of give us some of the highlights on what people are doing as far as their social media strategy?
Yeah, basically the majority concentrate on both. It's the corporate and the local office. And then we have 1-in-1 answer for like one or either. Yeah. So it's both. It's the winner.
So the next question is more channel based. So I'll let you go ahead and launch that and ask the question as well for our listeners.
Cool. So the next question is, you can check all the channels you're currently using, and then which channel do you receive the most engagement? And we can review result right after that.
I'm interested in the channels that receive the most engagement, but also the type of content that receives the most engagement. So we can kind of get into that afterwards too.
Winners are shifting around. It's like a race. Okay, here we go. Let me share this result with you guys. So it looks like Instagram and Facebook are winners, and then LinkedIn is right behind, which is surprising. I thought LinkedIn will be the winner.
Well, LinkedIn for us at Knock is totally the winner because our main customer is you guys and the B2B environment, which is where, we live and we make decisions and we have conversations there. But that makes a lot of sense that Instagram and Facebook would be more of a powerful channel for a B2, like direct to consumer audience.
I'm curious if anyone here tried YouTube, because from all other platforms like Instagram and Facebook, organic growth is very slow and YouTube is usually the highest and the fastest, and the cost per click is the lowest. Have you ever tried YouTube, guys?
We have YouTube for hosting videos of like tours. I've actually thought about doing YouTube advertising recently. My niece, who's 10 years old, gave me the idea. So you really never know where you're going to get ideas from these days, which is like, let's make an ad for YouTube. And I was like, how do you know anything about that? So, and she always makes me make TikToks of slime with her. And I'm like, this is no, like, but it's so crazy that the younger generations, I mean, I'm nervous that the power of like filmmaking and video editing are going to shift greatly. And like those careers and seasoned individuals who have like degrees in film or have made like Oscar winning movies is going to end up changing to where a 10-year-old could make something just as cool on their cell phone. And that's going to be a paradigm shift.
That's true. Actually, I took a YouTube course recently, and among students, they were BBC and Discovery professional filmmakers, and they were learning how to make it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say we opted not to use YouTube for corporate or for communities simply because of you can't control what shows up afterward and being tied to those connections. So we utilized, we do most of our videos and whatnot, we did them on Real Link so that it wasn't tied to a platform.
They're one of our partners. Give them a shout. There is a hack. If anyone wants to embed a YouTube video onto your website, I'll find the code, but I had to do this I used to build websites just for random people. That was kind of like Squarespace side hustle, but they wanted to embed a YouTube video onto their website, but they didn't want the related videos to show up afterwards. There is a bit of code that you can put around that HTML embed that will make it so it only shows the same account's videos. So if that's a concern for anyone that wants to use YouTube to host, that's an option too. I'll dig around for it and post it in the Slack community. By the way, Renter Obsessed is not a podcast only. Podcast is just a thing. It is a community of people who hang out on Zoom because we live far away from each other, but also we hang out on Slack. So if you want to join us on Slack, you should hit me up and join the club. But anyway, back to YouTube. I put YouTube and Pinterest on there, but when I think about social media, I almost don't even like put YouTube and Pinterest in those categories because they're such powerful search engines. And if you think about like social media as, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's like consistency. You're doing this all the time. Like it's about being in front of their face all the time and staying relevant. But like YouTube is the second most powerful search engine, second to their parent brand, which is Google. And when I worked with Olivia, the influencer, and she put the videos on her YouTube channel, and we saw the stats. Only like a few percentage of the people that watched that video and engaged with that video were her actual followers on YouTube. It was like 97% people that had the organic search query in the YouTube bar Portland apartment tour. So I think that like thinking of YouTube more as your SEO strategy, more so than traditional social media, because obviously,
And I would say the
it's
same with
evergreen.
Pinterest. I would say the same with Pinterest.
Yes.
We use Pinterest a lot at high occupancy buildings to show furniture placement. So we would do like either mini models or ask, residents who had really nicely decorated homes to show like how to use, especially spaces where you had like weird walls, like that little den, like what do you do with it? So we use Pinterest for a lot of that.
We use
That
Pinterest for resident events. Like our managers use it more than outer facing. They have like boards in each region. Sorry, there's a fire truck going by. Joys of living in Philadelphia. You never know what you're going to get. But so like a group of our managers all have boards and they sort of share within the region and they can sort of piggyback off of one another. And that's how they start to systematically design what they're going to do at various properties. And sometimes they run the same event in like tangent with another event at another property. So
that's really cool. That's a great idea. You guys are just like crushing it at project management workflow tools and just processes that are scalable.
it's all the field. And then it was really, the coolest thing we did this year, and it's now connected to our social media, but one of our leasing reps who used to be a teacher created a flow page and connected it to a QR code, because obviously they're now like
They're back, baby.
Yeah, then they used to be horrible. So they're definitely back. And I think they're here to stay. Like my brother's a restaurant owner. That QR code is plastered all over the restaurant. I'm like, can you take this down and put art back up? But no. But she created this flow page and the QR codes are actually going to replace our print marketing materials. But the flow page, we put it all in the URL of the Instagram and the Facebook URL like area. And if you click it, it has a resident and a prospect portal. And within each of those portals, there's information that would pertain to those segments of our consumer market. So each one has a call to action for reviews, the social media, but then there are PDF links and website links that would be applicable to the resident and or a prospect coming into the pipeline. So we've replaced our URLs on social media from our websites to a flow page.
Really smart. We'll put links to flow page, Canva, and Real Ink on the show notes page of this episode so everyone can go scoop all those cool tech tools up. Conscian.
Just for anyone knows, their privacy policy is excellent, and you get up to 3 free flow pages per user.
Oh, cool.
It's very cost effective.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about YouTube. I use YouTube for our company, and we post most of our video tours. And I use the same thing what Sarah's doing, but not for content, but for video tours. I use our OnSite Teams, and we have one rock star who's like not shy at all in front of the camera, does an amazing job. So we've created so many video tours with her, and most of the time I get a call from her and she's like, like 90% of the time when someone shows up, they like give me a stare and says, I know you from somewhere. And she's like, oh, well, you've probably seen our website or our YouTube. Mm-hmm. So, it actually helps with the employee morale as well. And then that also tells us our renters are looking at all of these, the content out there. Yeah.
That's very true. That's amazing.
Make your people your brand.
Yeah,
it all comes back around.
You should have her do like a short series or something.
That would be a fun idea, actually.
Well, Sydney met one of my counterparts at AIM, and Cedric, the Entertrainer, as we call him. And I joke now, since he did so well on the podcast with Apartments on the Go, I was like, Cedric, you need your own. And believe it or not, he like was so shy going into it. He was like so nervous. And I'm like, Cedric, your job is to train people. What's wrong? And he's now like famous. So I was like, you knew more people at AIM than I did by the end. And
oh my gosh, we have to get him on here and do a whole like off-topic training episode with him and Courtney so they can just riff on engagement and training.
Oh, please get him on one. I want him to do more stuff like this. So, and his name in and of itself, Cedric the Entertrainer. So
That's gold. You gotta trademark that.
yeah, he got a new title or is getting a new title this year. And I was like, we should just make that his title, because there's this whole study about creative titles. And we're just like, not really there yet with PRG, but I was like, we should just make an exception to the rule. So,
You know, I feel like in this conversation, I am so blown away. And I'm not surprised because you clearly have a ton of branding experience, but you don't just think about your corporate brand and your property brands. You're thinking about branding every single element. I mean, those different brands are services that you offer your employees. I don't know if you guys, are you only owner manager or are you fee manager too?
we're only owner operators.
Okay. But
Mhm.
man, can you imagine be like, and in this package, you also get Cedric the Entertrainer. Like it's a whole web in my mind, like it's a whole portion of your website that is just like part of your employee recruitment. Have them be the entire face of it.
Well, speaking, this sort of actually perfectly goes into your other question you sent me about the new resources and budgeting and stuff is
Yeah.
it started pre-COVID, but it took 2 years to do that. We really decided to do a revamp of our training videos and our HR like recruiting videos. And it took 2 years to put together because, you know, a mask mandate and all of the travel restrictions came into play and keeping people safe. But it ended up being that we took a group of, I want to say 20 folks into a region from all over the country. We had 3 days of filming and a phenomenal dinner where our CEO came and he ate with everyone and he got to know everyone and he drove some of them around that he doesn't usually get to see. And after the event, and Cedric was there, so he was training, but he is the voice of the training video. And he was also interviewed in the HR video. But after that event, our leasing reps that came and our managers and our maintenance staff that were involved, like called the home office and talked to the executive team. We're like, this was the coolest event that we've ever done, because it's very rare that a CEO will sit down with that many people throughout the entire company and get to know them and remember them. And it's something to be said for PRG that John, our owner, and Sam, our CEO, can go to every property and they probably will be able to remember you by name. You're not just a number, but some of those trends like the video filming, and maybe we put a little bit more money into some higher quality things that create projects where more people get to be involved instead of always it feeling like one group. Like, I think when I look at other companies' websites and I look at some of our competitors, and then I even look at some like investment groups, it's always ever like one group of people. You don't really get that like diversification of the employment pool, or even individuals that might be tenured, or even giving someone who's new the opportunity to come in. It's usually like the same 5 people. And that's something where I think going down the road, that those resources, while we might be saving 20, 30, 40% now on our marketing spend because we've revamped that strategy, we can put that cost that we're saving into something else that empowers the brand even more. So
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of like news. I just saw an updated one that I know that occupancy has been pretty good over the last couple of years, and leads are pretty good. You know, managing them is one thing, but like the flow of traffic hasn't really been an issue. But obviously we know that, you know, across our entire nation, not in our industry alone, but employee retention has been a huge issue. And I think it's really important to show the world that like this is such a great career path. Like entering into the multifamily industry, like nobody ever thinks they're going to do that. Like you fall into it, and then you get that role specifically is so valuable because you get trained on get cross-trained on so many different things. Like I didn't go from a leasing agent to an assistant manager to a manager. I went from a leasing agent directly into a marketing track because I was what I was interested in. And it's just, I love to amplify that and like tell more of the world what opportunities there are here.
yeah, and I think that speaks volumes on the industry of itself. I mean, people are still building, things are changing. For me, living in a market where I don't actually market any of my brands, I still get to walk through the city of Philadelphia and see all these new apartment complexes and walk into our competitors' buildings and see how they feel and get a sense of how their company operates. Because the minute you walk into the door of a apartment complex, you either know you're going to move there, or you know that there's something off-putting and it's not for you. So it's like, and like things like this, like I think when I started at PRG 3 years ago, there was never really the opportunity as it is today to speak with other people in my seat somewhere else. And I've sort of created that pocket and that community now. Like the girl Jessica Foster, like I follow her on social media. She just had a baby. I can talk to her about beer cans all the time and like what she's doing. Or you in particular, like you and I hit it off the first night at AIM, and that was the
Instantly.
end of it. Yeah, our like motto was like, we're on brand, and everyone's like, what are these two talking about? Like, there go the Looney Tunes. Like it's just like the power of networking, and that we've been able to build such networks even through a distant pandemic is, I think, incredible for what the industry is doing. And like you said, you fall into it by accident. I was literally packing my bags to move back to Florida when PRG called me, and I was like, this weird little company, and look where I am today. So
Oh my gosh. Katie, you have had your hand raised for a while. What's going on?
I was just going to piggyback on the idea of like interviewing your associates. Like we just went on a road trip. We did 50 plus interviews with 50 plus associates, just because we want to get everyone's idea of what it's like to be an associate for our company. And then we'll take those interviews that we did and we've turned them into, videos about our core values or what it's like to interview for our company, so that it's for those coming in and those who have been here for a while. And it's just, like you said, like having them as the face rather than that core group of like the leadership team, it really just makes a difference in terms of that or the employee retention. And then, wanting to get new associates in the door too.
I love that. I might steal your interview idea. I think that's brilliant.
That's what this is for us to steal each other's ideas. So the kind of genesis of this idea, obviously, was meeting you, a lot of you folks that were on this call at AIM at different events. But when I first got my very first role in marketing, I honestly kind of lied about my skill set and my experience and got in as their first marketing hire. So they didn't know what was going on either. So they didn't know I didn't know. But anyway, I was really struggling for a while until I found this group of local marketers who were literally in the exact same place I was. They were the first hire at their company. They just were kind of given a desk and said, go market. And so having this and bringing in, our peers, but also bringing in those new marketers and bringing in leasing teams that are interested in getting into marketing, and bringing in folks who maybe are the first marketing hire at their company. And even if they're super seasoned, having an opportunity to bounce ideas off of each other, it doesn't give away secrets. It just makes all of what we're doing better for our employees, for our residents, for our company's bottom line. It's just also very fun. But anyway, I'm getting back down from my soapbox. Ghanshan, what's going on?
No, I just wanted to add to what we're discussing here. When I joined Carlo, last year, and a few months into the job, my director came to me and it's like, we have quite a few positions open, and we need to do a campaign. So what can you do to, get more applicants and people into the company? And I thought about it and I said, okay, let me do a small video. And I didn't have a large budget. So what I did was I just hired one videographer, and I went around the office, our corporate office, and I told everyone, get ready for a video. Someone's coming, in 2 days, and you're going to be featured. And I just kept it very simple. I said, I'm going to ask one question and just try to answer it as short as you can. And the question was, why, just forgetting the question. It was actually, what's your favorite thing about Carlo? And I got some amazing answers. I didn't stage anyone. I didn't tell anyone what to say. And some of the managers said the most amazing things. And so fast forward, now I have the opportunity to sit in certain interviews when we're hiring new leasing consultants and managers. And I've heard from numerous candidates that they've actually watched the video, and that's what motivated them to come and apply with the company. So yeah, the content and creating those video content, it's very powerful.
I love that.
Yeah.
And going off of what you just said about videos and how powerful it is we do host all of our like professional videos that are made on Vimeo. And I can say from when during COVID, we use a company called House Lens. I'll give out another secret. They're the best. I love them to death, but
Put a link on the show notes page.
They're very affordable. And the guy Andrew's out of Tennessee. And I actually used to work with him when I worked in traditional real estate. And then when I came to PRG, I pulled them in because they have like local photographers in every market that we occupy, which is also really cool because they know your buildings before they get there. And then they're like, let me add my artistic flair, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then they get to know our managers, and that creates like another valuable relationship in our marketing pipelines. But COVID, they like rapidly sent people out for us and videoed our properties that weren't done yet. And we put them all on YouTube or on Vimeo, excuse me. And COVID, like year to date on like for 2020, we had about 175,000 views on the Vimeo reports, like unique views, and about 80% of people were finishing the videos. And I thought this year it would die, and we've doubled. So we're at 350,000 views and still around 85% of people finishing the videos. So the power of the content it's speaking volumes. And like we've talked this whole conversation, like Reels and TikTok, like I'm a little bit more restrictive on some of that because I think there's a little bit more opportunity for people to go rogue and keep things like appropriate and professional. So we're still trying to navigate that water. And if any of you have ideas of how you could set up a structure or train people on how to make a TikTok actually be presentable in a business manner, please, by all means, feel free to reach out to me. But I think those like taking your phone, walking people through on a video recording, uploading it to Instagram, maybe IGTV, but of course, like putting the money into those quality videos of your property is also an area that's worth the spend at this point in time. So I think it's all amazing. It's a little bit of magic.
It's amazing to see how quickly we're all shifting to it, and how, gosh, do you remember a few years ago when the conversation was like whether or not we should be doing it, not how to do it? It's so nice to not have to sell the idea of investing in social media and content to ownership anymore, and just them saying, oh yeah, of course we do that. Just do it well now. And you can focus on actual best practices versus getting buy-in.
Yeah, and I just my CEO was talking on a panel today of executives right before this. So I was sitting and listening, and one of the women was like, when we went into COVID, we had to deploy 82 laptops to our 82 accountants. And I was like, they didn't all have a laptop before? Like, I was like, she's like, we were handing them out like candy. And I was like, wait, what were they using? Like, I was like, we had like a group Teams like going on, and myself, our director of training, and our director of IT, he was like, thank God I didn't work for them and have to deploy those 82 laptops. And I was like, that's crazy. And me giving someone a portable device like a laptop, that is so adequate, like outdated at this point. Like I assume that everyone gets a laptop. So
Oh man.
I thought she would have said like providing monitors at people's houses for COVID or assisting with internet stuff, but a laptop, it was very interesting. And for them, that's how it was. And she was explaining that their normals changed. And I think that's the same for marketing. But marketing, I think, moves at a much faster pace than a lot of the other departments as well. It's ever evolving.
That's our job. To be on top of it and know what's happening.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how we all keep track of it. What do your to-do lists look like?
Courtney, you've had your hand raised for a while. What's going on?
No, I was just going to say, well, depending on the size of your company and budgets, I think one of the good things that came out of COVID is the fact that people appreciate real now more so. And while I agree, sometimes investing in some amazing photography and professional things are great, that those genuine walkthrough, oops, I tripped, like, oh, sorry, someone's dog is barking next door, or, oh, you can only faintly hear it because we do have pretty good soundproofing, right? People appreciate that. And I think that we've seen that in all forms of marketing. If you look at campaigns from anywhere from Nike, Sarah, you said you worked for a surf company, so you probably know Rip Curl. Like
Yeah.
they changed their website to show you get to choose the body type, right? Like, so when you get to see real people, another one of our partners, Rent Grata, has really taken off during, post-COVID, and those opportunities to speak to people who actually live on site. I think that social media is that kind of avenue of the real, right? And that's also where the TikTok comes from, right? Like if everyone's doing it, like why wouldn't we do it? So it's kind of like wherever anyone is, we should be there, because if, the majority of your paycheck goes to where you live, then we're kind of a big deal. So we
We're
should be
such a
there.
big deal.
Such a big deal. That's why
We're
we're
such a
renter
big deal.
obsessed.
I know.
Totally.
Speaking of TikTok, and I would say that I'm more of a TikTok consumer at this point, more than a TikTok creator. So I can't really speak super intelligently on the matter, but I can say what I've seen and what I've researched, and that the algorithm, it performs so much more differently than what we're used to with Instagram and Facebook. And the way we were doing marketing a few years ago was like produced, beautiful, curated, everything was branded, everything was perfect. We had our branding moments, which I still love. They're very important. But the TikTok is all about like rawness and a human to having another connection with a human. But also on Instagram, we were all about like being creative and being different. On TikTok, it's all about following and copying trends. And so if you're thinking about like, how do I get my TikTok video to perform? Just pick a sound that everyone's using and ingrain that into something that's relevant to you. It's also a really good opportunity to get renter generated content rolling, like do a challenge, say, stitch this video with your favorite place of the community, stitch this video with your dog, running, and you can set up like these competitions within your resident base, because most of them are, not most, but a good portion are probably using TikTok, like a good portion of the population is. And so setting parameters, like not all of us can be Duolingo and just doing crazy stuff on TikTok, but walking around, your community, giving those tours, producing the content that you were going to produce already, and seeing how it does on TikTok, I think is worth a try. Honestly, it's like wide open pastures there right now. It should be relatively easy for us early adopters to win.
Good.
I'm going to tell myself that I haven't done it yet. What's going on, Meg?
Yeah, so I wrote an article about multifamily and TikTok. So I did a little bit of research on this. And I think what's interesting is there are kind of like two pathways, I think, that multifamily can use TikTok. One is hashtag education talk. So there's a huge community of people on TikTok who are going there to learn things. I know I'm on TikTok myself and I'm a big history nerd. So I follow a lot of history accounts and I actually learn a lot of stuff and like want to watch the whole video. And that's super interesting. And then also one of the communities we talked to for the article, Western Wealth, they love TikTok as a means of letting their like leasing team's personalities shine through. So like, they can be a little silly and nothing too outrageous. It's all on brand, but it's not just a picture of someone, it's them smiling and walking around their property. So you get a real personal connection with residents and potential residents that I think other social media channels don't really give. And I'll post a link to the article on our show notes page, but I think TikTok does have a lot of potential. There's a lot you can do with it. And like you were saying, people want realness. And I think compared to other platforms, people are watching like whole videos, which I think is pretty incredible.
And they can be up to 3 minutes long.
Exactly.
There's a lot of opportunity. There's a company that I don't want to mispronounce the name of it. Is it Kayak? They have so many TikTok followers and their content is like, here's how you rent an apartment, like basically breaking it down, because you have people that are renting for the first time. They don't know the laws in the area. Like they're researching these things, and wouldn't it be so nice if they could just get that information directly from you, or common questions,
Exactly. It's all amazing. That's all I can say.
Honestly, if I had the foresight to send you guys all a bottle of wine before we started, we should probably do this for like 3 hours, but I clearly failed. And it's also only 2:00 on the West Coast, so I should probably work. But This is so fun. I really appreciate you guys being here, and thank you so much for bringing all that insight, Sarah. I was very inspired as someone that has been bought into Canva for a long time, and really am passionate about how your people are your brand and they are your reputation, and they are the most important part of our business is our people. I really appreciate you bringing not just us saying that, but you bringing to the table all the tools on how you can do that and to empower them. So this Renter Obsessed, like I said, it is not just a podcast. It's not just a Zoom call without wine. Sorry, everyone. It's just a full-on community. It's just us hanging out, and because we just want to talk all the time and we can't stop. So if you're listening to this after the fact, I encourage you to follow. I've been posting a lot about it on LinkedIn. You can also just email me. My email is S as in Sydney Weber, WEBBER @knoxcrm.com. You can email hello@knoxcrm.com. Just, you know how to get in touch with us. We'll get you a link to join this if you want to be part of the live episodes. If you want, you can just follow or subscribe to the podcast to get them after the fact. But we also have a Slack community. I'd love for anyone that is listening in the interwebs to, if they're interested in chatting with us or in getting in touch with any of us in real time, or sharing your ideas, or if there's anything you have to add to this episode, that's a great place to do it. But Sarah, do you have any closing thoughts for us before we say goodbye to the second episode of Renter Obsessed?
I guess I'll say sort of what I said at AIM is always be mindful of taking a risk and don't be afraid to take it. And once you've taken it, look back and reflect on it, learn from it, and continue to take those risks to power you forward into new ideas and creations. So that's all. But thank you guys. I loved speaking and meeting each and every one of you.
Thank you, Sarah. Those are words to live by. And that is the perfect way to end this episode. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds
Bye.
good. Bye.